Hey, this is Brandon with Pickleball Effect. Today I'm going to review the new Mach 1 Forza by Volair. Volair is a brand that came out last year. It was co-founded by pro player Julian Arnold. He's one of my favorite players to watch. This is the paddle he plays with, and it's got his signature on here. So this is Volair's take on a thermoform paddle. I've done a ton of reviews of thermoform paddles now, so I'm not going to spend too much talking about the construction of the paddle other than just saying it is thermoformed, it has the foam injection around the perimeter, and it's unibody. Additionally, because I reviewed so many thermos at this point, I'm going to spend a little less time talking about the overall playability of the paddle and spend a little more time just comparing it to other popular thermoform paddles so you can see where it stacks up. But before we jump to the playtest, there are a couple of things on the spec sheet I want to point out. So the first is its average weight of 8.2 ounces. Thermoform paddles typically weigh somewhere between 8 and 8.3, so this is a little bit on the heavier side at 8.2. Then it has a swing weight of 117. 117 is actually a really low measurement for an elongated shape, but upon further investigation, when you measure the length of the paddle, it's actually 16.25 inches long instead of 16.5 that it says on its website. So it's a little shorter and actually kind of falls into that popular hybrid shape, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The hybrid shapes from brands like 6-0 and Vatic Pro are really popular right now. So this hybrid length probably accounts for its lower swing weight of 117. But when you compare 117 to the other hybrid shapes, it's actually a little higher. So the average weight for a hybrid shape is 115. So this is 2 points higher than that, which isn't a ton, but it is a little bit more. And then looking at the twist weight number, it has a measurement of 6.57. This is a good measurement. It's a little bit above average. I would expect this to have a good size sweet spot, though I've had paddle measurements that are higher than that. And then the paddle's retailing for $180, but if you use my discount code 10effect, it brings the price down to $162. Plus, when you buy the paddle, it comes with a paddle eraser, an extra grip, and an extra grip band, which is a nice touch. You get a little more bang for your buck that way. And then the paddle is available in 2 thicknesses, so it has a 16mm and a 14mm. I only have the 16mm, so that's what I'll be basing my review off of. This is the Mach 1 Forza. Let's go put it on the court and see how it plays.
Whenever I look at the specs and design of a paddle, I get an idea of how it will play, and with the Forza, it ended up playing exactly how I thought it would. After drilling and playing with the paddle for 2 weeks, here's my review of its performance. It's a solid all-court paddle that gives you that nice mix of power and control, big spin, and has that staple stiffer feel of a thermoform paddle. It gives you that extra power and pop you expect from a thermo, but it still has a stable and forgiving nature to it that gives it consistency and control and makes it more accessible to a wider level of players. It didn't take me long to dial in my thirds, resets, and dinks, though you may not be able to say the same thing if you're coming from a pure control paddle, since it takes a bit to get used to the extra pop if you're coming from that paddle that isn't thermoformed. And if you don't have some sort of developed soft game, then this paddle will be harder to control. However, if you do have a developed soft game, I think you'll be able to control this one just fine. Its longer 5.5-inch handle was comfortable for my two-handed shots and blocks and gave it a little extra whip on overheads and drives. Though it has an extra long handle, it has some extra pop in the bottom half of the face compared to non-thermoform paddles, which makes the handle feel like it doesn't take up any meaningful paddle surface area. The paddle offers excellent spin and was giving me RPM numbers in the high 1900s, which is an excellent result and will give you everything you need there. The big spin and good power was a great combination for generating offense. The paddle has a swing weight of 117, which is manageable, but also gives it a little more plow through on drives and overheads compared to other hybrid shaped thermos I've played. I will say that though the paddle had 117 for swing weight, it seemed to play a little heavier than that. I hit it side by side the Yola Perseus 16mm, which has the same swing weight, but the Forza moved just a little bit slower in comparison. However, it was much more forgiving compared to the Perseus, and I didn't feel like it needed any lead tape to increase its stability or to add power. In summary, it's a well-made thermo paddle that has all the characteristics you'd expect from something with its design. To help you better understand how it stacks up compared to other thermoform paddles, I put together this table. The number 1 indicates it's the best in that category for these paddles, and the number 4 indicates it's last in that category. In some cases, the paddles were so close that I gave them ties. I gave the Forza first place alongside the DBD for spin and second in all the other categories. The Carbon 1X was the most power-oriented of the bunch, while the Yola Perseus was the most control-oriented. The Forza played most similarly to the 6-0 Double Black Diamond, other than I thought it had a little more power than the 6-0 and was maybe a little less forgiving. When I was hitting my 6-0 and Forza side by side, it was difficult to distinguish the difference power-wise, but the slightly higher swing weight of the Forza seemed to carry through the ball a little easier and added a touch more power. But overall, they play very similar. So here's my recommendation. I really liked the Forza and I thought it played well, though it doesn't have any distinguishable performance features when compared to the many other thermoform paddles out there. I don't think you can go wrong with this one if you're looking for a solid elongated all-court type paddle. I do think it looks really nice, and the extra stuff you get when you buy it is a nice touch as well. The good looks of it alone might persuade some to pick it up over others. If you're coming from a control paddle and have never played a thermoform paddle, then expect an adjustment period as you get used to the extra pop and stiffer feel, and if you're coming from a traditional power paddle, then you'll love the extra forgiveness you get at the sacrifice of just a little power. They only offer the paddle with one handle length and shape, so if you don't like extra long handles or prefer a shorter or standard shape, then you'll have to look elsewhere like the Carbon Power series or something like that. Overall, I thought it was a solid paddle and it fit my personal playstyle well. I could control it, and the big spin and extra power made me a little more deadly offensive. Lastly, I'll make a comment about its durability. Because it's thermoformed, you have to be conscious of the delamination and core crushing issues out there. So I played this thing very regularly for a little over 2 weeks. It has about 20 to 30 hours on it. And during that time period, I didn't experience any issues. I can't speak on its durability beyond that, but during my playtest, I didn't have any issues. So that's all I have for you. Thanks for watching, and I hope it helped.
Oh, nice.